You are a source of joy. I'm Jeremy Andrew Davis, and in this video, I'm expanding on my previous video where I talked about trying to force yourself to be positive is bull. Now, if you know my story, you know that for years I suffered with fibromyalgia where I was in intense pain all the time. And let me tell you, when you are in pain, it is virtually impossible to be positive. Your body fights against you because you're having a stress response. You're firing neurons and neutrons and nervy thingies into your brain that is telling you that something is wrong. So if your body is telling your brain that something is wrong, how can you fight against that to say, no, I'm positive, everything is okay? In my last video, I talked about how you can incrementally just make one choice every day of choosing to be that much more positive in your mindset and how that can help. But for some people, including me, that didn't seem to be enough. I'd seemed to make progress for a while. I seemed to start getting ahead. I seemed to be feeling more positive for a period of time, but then my health symptoms would increase. And I'd find myself being angry and negative and depressed, and I felt like I couldn't break out of it. Well, as I started going to my alternative medicine practitioner and started to heal the body, I found that I naturally started to be more positive. That being positive was a natural byproduct of being more healthy. For those of you who don't live around the same area that I do, Canton, Ohio, you can't easily go to see the guy that I do, who's the only one in the world practicing his approach to healing these incurable diseases like he cured with mine. If you do want some more information on his practice, I think is the right term, there's going to be links down below. But I also want to give you some tools and techniques that you might be able to use at home on your own to at least improve your health to another level, if not a few more levels. So, for those of you who have not watched my very first video yet, I encourage you to do so because I go over the fundamental principle of the entire health approach that I have now. And it has to do with stress and all the different types of stress. There's physical stress, there's environmental stress, there's emotional stress, there's mental stress. And when you are under these stresses, within your body, there is physical responses that create certain mindsets and mental processes. It's all a system, it all affects everything else. So if you are having trouble mentally making the shift to positivity, a good practice to have is to look at the physical and go, what am I doing physically, or what can I do physically to lower the stress that the body is under, to improve the body's health, so that the body is no longer sending those pain and stress stimulus responses to the brain that then overloads the brain and overrides our conscious processes of trying to be positive. Now, before we get into some of that, I want to point something out to you. I was in a very, very dark place. I had unbidden suicidal thoughts that I immediately was like, what's wrong with me? And beat myself up all the more because of. And it wasn't until I started addressing some of the physical health problems that the positivity started coming to me and started being possible for me, no matter how hard I fought mentally to do so. Now, the cool thing is in this process, I discovered that I have, and you have, and everybody has an inexhaustible well of positivity within them. And that in reality, the pain and stress that we are under is like an oil over the surface of that well of positivity, so that every time we try to reach down into that well and pull out some of that positivity for ourselves, that it would be covered in this oily, tarry, gross negativity and stress. So, just knowing that I had that potential and that positivity within me that was there to tap into gave me hope and gave me the ability to move forward and look for ways where I could remove that oil, or even go, you know what? I'm going to reach down into that positivity, knowing that there's going to be some oil on there, but acknowledging that and being more conscious of the positivity that was within me, and taking less note and less focus on that oily surface, because it was just the surface that was oily. I would find myself, whenever anything good happened, I would have to say all these caveats in my mind of, well, it wasn't this, well, it wasn't that, well, it's, this could have been better. That super chronic overachiever, that super perfectionist of like, it's not perfect. But I started to realize I could reach down into that well and go, hey, there's good here. There's some oil on it, I acknowledge that, but there's good here. There's good there. And that goodness is inexhaustible. But when you find yourself in that scenario where the pain or the physical stress that you're under is overriding your ability to access that positive depth within you, you have to start looking at how you can address that. How can we lower our body's stress so that it doesn't override our conscious ability to reach down into the positivity within us? Think back on your life. Think back in the last few weeks to sometime when you had like a headache or something physically that was bothering you. It was so much harder to stay positive, to have a good day, to be kind to people, because you are under this amount of stress. So it's a no-brainer. The more we can lower that threshold of stress within our experience, the easier it is, the more natural it is to be positive. So because I was in such pain all the time with my fibromyalgia, I found so hard to find positivity within me on a conscious level. Even though that inexhaustible depth of positivity within me, I couldn't reach through the large, thick well of oil to reach it, because my body was so overloaded and was turning off any kind of positivity receptors that I had going on there. So over years, even before I did my alternative treatment method, I had been taking steps to have a better and better diet and reduce the amount of environmental physical stresses on my body. As I implemented more and more lifestyle changes that I learned about through this alternative treatment, my body started to have more and more changes. Now, one of the things that I learned through the process is, I have always been a perfectionist and a super chronic overachiever. And so I always did everything cold turkey. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right. And I'm gonna do it all the way. But trying to take on too much too soon is itself a stress. A change that you can make to help lower the amount of stress that your body is under, your physical self. And that's in your diet. Number one is to eat organic. I know organic is more expensive, but think about this. Pesticides and herbicides are neurotoxins. Now, I know the rhetoric out there says that they are neurotoxins designed specifically to only affect insects and plants. But my philosophy is, if it isn't healthy, then it's not healthy. And your body, your immune system, even if it's not toxic, has to identify what isn't healthy and flush it. And if your immune system is overloaded, The more of that you have in your body, the more your immune system has to work to flush it, and the more likely you are to get sick because the more work you're making your immune system do. There's a list out there called the Dirty Dozen. Look up that list on Google. I'll put a link down below for you to find it easily. These are the top 12 most important things to eat organic because they absorb the most pesticides and herbicides. Start there. That alone is going to make a big impact with a small change that's doable. Do it until it becomes habit, and you'll find that you'll be ready for the next one, and you'll be able to make that change easy. You're making a small choice for a big gain. Now, here's something really cool. As I started changing my diet and working on my health and making health my #1 priority, pretty quickly, food started tasting differently. I started craving salads and craving vegetables, and I've always liked fruit, but craving vegetables, that was a new thing to me. Carrots tasted so sweet. I'm like, when did they start injecting sugar into carrots? Because these things are amazing. These taste like candy to me now because I had desensitized my tongue to sweetness. I could taste the sweetness in natural organic food again, and it was life-changing. It does take a while to get to that point, but you start making small changes in your diet and your body will soon, after a period of possible struggle, it will start to crave some of those nutrient-dense foods. Don't be surprised if you do have several weeks, maybe even a couple of months of your body fighting against the new foods. It's going to be craving some of those old foods. And if you do have some of them from time to time, it's okay. Do not beat yourself up over it. You make a choice, you satisfy that craving, move on, and know that you are making incremental small choices every day to make a difference. As you make your health and happiness your #1 priority, these small changes are going to amass a mountain of changes sooner than you realize. So stick with it. There is hope. If you found things that have worked for you, post them in the comments below. If you're having a hard time, post those in the comments below. I want to create a community of people that is helping each other, and I also get inspiration from you guys to know what videos I can do and to see how I can best help you overcome the challenges that you're facing in your health. To join this community, please subscribe to the videos, ring that bell to get notifications, and share the video with people who you think is going to have a difference in their life by watching these videos. I hope you like the video, and until the next one, take courage.